Breaking news tonight, bracing for the worst. The dire warning from the nation's top doctor.
Next week is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment. It's going to be our 9/11 moment.
The surge in coronavirus cases and deaths now expected to peak within days. On the front lines, governors warn they still do not have enough supplies. Louisiana saying it will run out of hospital beds this week as tens of thousands of medical workers offer to head to New York to help. And the new rule on face masks for all military personnel. Scam warnings, counterfeit masks sold to hospitals, and the fake testing sites, including scammers in medical gear, swabbing cheeks that ripped off desperate patients for $200 a pop. The Queen's speech, the extremely rare national address from the Queen of England.
While we have faced challenges before, this one is different.
As that country's prime minister is hospitalized with persistent coronavirus symptoms. And the moments that unite us, the national anthem played across New York City. Plus the new tribute to healthcare workers.
This is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. I'm Peter Alexander in for Kate. Tonight, a sobering message from the nation's top doctor, the Surgeon General, warning Americans with the coronavirus death toll climbing, the next week could be one of the darkest in a generation, comparing it to the worst attacks on American soil. More than 1,000 people nationwide have died from the virus in just the last 24 hours. The U.S. now hitting that grim milestone for a third straight day. Our team is spread out across the country and the world, and we begin with NBC's Erin McLaughlin.
Tonight, from the Surgeon General, that dire warning.
The next week is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment. It's going to be our 9/11 moment. It's going to be the hardest moment for many Americans in their entire lives.
Health officials telling everyone to avoid leaving the house at all costs. If you absolutely have to go out, wear a mask and keep your distance.
This is the moment to not be going to the grocery store, not going to the pharmacy, but doing everything you can to keep your family and your friends safe.
This as the national death toll tops 9,000.
This is war. This is essentially what it feels to be like a wartime physician.
From a doctor on the front lines in Michigan, one of the hot spots, health officials caution is just days away from reaching a deadly peak.
We are struggling to get it under control.
Shortages of supplies persist, including masks, ventilators. The state of Louisiana about to run out of hospital beds. There's also a huge need for doctors and nurses critical to the fight.
Every single mind and body is necessary to fight this, and we've been able to get people to jump in and actually volunteer to do this.
This as hard-hit states continue to blame the federal government.
Can you imagine if Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, I'll be right behind you, Connecticut. Good luck building those paddle ships.
Yet other states ignore guidelines and a plea from top officials.
I wish every governor would encourage the people in their states to follow these guidelines for 30 days. That's what I want.
At least 7 governors refusing statewide mandates, including Arkansas. Governor Asa Hutchinson insists the action he's taking is enough.
We have had success in Arkansas comparable to other states. Tomorrow, 600,000 Arkansans will still go to work. So it's more important in the message that do your social distancing, don't gather in groups of more than 10 people, and bring a mask with you.
This weekend, Governor Brian Kemp reopened Georgia's beaches. Local mayors calling the move reckless.
Here we are in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and yet where we're closing schools, we're opening beaches. In my mind, that does not compute.
And yet, there's resilience, signs of a country pulling together. There's a surge in applications for the National Guard. As of Sunday, more than 21,000 supporting the COVID-19 response.
What's beautiful about this in a strange way is that I've never seen people come together the way I'm seeing it now.
And there's some good news tonight. The state of Washington announcing it's seen fewer infections than anticipated. It'll be returning 400 ventilators to the national stockpile. Peter?
Erin McLaughlin starting us off tonight. Erin, thank you. And even as the virus spreads to new hotspots across the country, New York remains the epicenter of this outbreak, with nearly 40% of all cases nationwide. Kathy Park has the very latest on what's expected to be the toughest week yet, and we want to warn you that some images are upsetting.
Disturbing images outside this Brooklyn hospital as bright orange body bags roll out to temporary morgues. Another reminder that frontline workers in New York City are deep in a fight without a clear end date.
We're doing our best, but we don't know when's it our time to face the consequences of, dealing with this every day and not, feeling like we're completely safe.
Today, Governor Andrew Cuomo saying the state may be nearing the peak or the plateau of the crisis. He added that New York saw a dip in daily coronavirus deaths, but warns it may be a blip.
What is the significance of that? It's too early to tell.
But with deaths now passing the 4,000 mark, the federal government is deploying the military to help in a big way.
There will be some 3,000 Department of Defense and HHS personnel on the ground to supplement and to provide relief to healthcare workers, really at the epicenter of the coronavirus in the New York City area.
With a heightened public health emergency, the Javits Center turned temporary hospital has shifted to treating COVID-positive cases. And the Department of Defense is weighing the risk of taking on coronavirus patients on hospital ships, including the USNS Comfort, which has been nearly empty for a week.
That's why we've opened up the Javits Center and the other expanded hospitals around the country for coronavirus, and we're prepared to leverage the Mercy and Comfort as well to do that.
The Defense Secretary also announcing in a memo that all personnel on DoD installations, facilities, and property must now wear face coverings. And in another turn, a defense official confirming to NBC News that Captain Brett Crozier will remain in quarantine at Naval Base Guam for 14 days. This week, he was fired for sounding the alarm about a coronavirus outbreak on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. The New York Times reports that Crozier tested positive for the virus. The Navy would not confirm this information.
And earlier this week, Mayor Bill de Blasio warned that the city would run out of critical supplies starting today, but they were able to secure more that will now last through midweek. Peter?
Kathy Park in New York City tonight. Kathy, stay safe. For only the 5th time in her 68-year reign, Queen Elizabeth tonight delivered a special address. It comes as the UK's Prime Minister was taken to the hospital with persistent symptoms of the virus. Molly Hunter has the latest from London.
Tonight, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson hospitalized with COVID-19. 10 Downing Street saying in a statement, this is a precautionary step as the Prime Minister continues to have persistent symptoms of coronavirus.
I've developed mild symptoms.
He tested positive on March 27th, becoming the first world leader to do so.
Alas, I still have one of the symptoms.
And on Friday, reported still having a fever. He's been updating the nation on social media while still working from home. His pregnant fiancée, now in isolation, also showing symptoms. The news breaking just an hour after the Queen gave a rare special address to the nation. At 93 years old, the picture of strength.
Together we are tackling this disease.
A deeply personal message, a wartime rallying cry as her own son, her heir, Prince Charles, recovers from COVID-19. The Queen has given this kind of unplanned address just 4 times before. At the onset of the First Gulf War,
as your Queen and as a grandmother,
when Princess Diana died, when her mother, the Queen Mum, passed away, and at her Diamond Jubilee. The Queen is not at home at Buckingham Palace. She's speaking tonight from Windsor Castle, where she and her 98-year-old husband, Prince Philip, both very much in that more vulnerable age category, have been self-isolating. But the head of state, who has seen and survived so much in her 68-year reign, has never seen this before.
We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return.
And tonight, millions tuned in for just that. Molly Hunter, NBC News, London.
And back here at home, paramedics are on the leading edge of the fight against coronavirus. Carrie Sanders now on a new test that could change the game for them and for us.
Life on the front lines in New York City.
It assesses his breathing, his temperature.
Paramedic Jeff Halstead, 18 years on the job.
It's difficult to look a patient in the face and try and make them believe everything's going to be okay, and you know they're not going to make it.
Watching those New York developments closely, paramedics in Florida getting more calls by the day like this.
Hi, I'm having trouble breathing, and every time I try to stand up, I feel like I'm going to faint.
Oh, I'm going to stay on the phone with you, okay? It's going to be okay.
It hurts to breathe.
In South Florida, paramedics now know they're headed to a possible virus case when they hear this.
Hospital P36.
P36 means suit up head to toe. It could be a possible virus case. Today in Coral Springs, Florida, paramedics answering those 911 calls took quick read blood tests. Results in 15 minutes. The tests reveal if they have protective coronavirus antibodies.
This test is not a panacea. It's a screening tool. The best analogy here is instead of going to the forest blind, now with this test, at least you can see the trees and perhaps even see a way out.
The rapid tests acquired from China. 19-year veteran Lieutenant Jason Marino on a virus run just days ago. His test today showing no exposure. His wife is a nurse.
Both of us are terrified that we're going to end up bringing it home to our kids.
Here in Florida, there are now more than 12,000 coronavirus patients. The rate of spread, according to the Florida Department of Health, one new case every 72 seconds. Tonight from New York, the story is service and sacrifice. At 50 years old, paramedic Halstead with his own problems, an autoimmune disease.
If I get it and die, it's my life. It's part of my job.
Kerry Sanders, NBC News.
Today is Palm Sunday, normally a day for the Christian faithful to gather in prayer. Most, but not all churches today follow national guidelines against large gatherings. Morgan Chesky has more.
Behold him who...
Tonight, churches around the world proving even a pandemic can't stop Christianity's Palm Sunday. In Rome, Pope Francis stood alone, streaming Mass from St. Peter's Square. The virtual spreading of the gospel, now the new norm.
Mr. President, thank you for joining us.
In California, an online thank you for President Trump, who watched Sunday services after weighing in on the issue yesterday.
So how sad is it that we have Easter Palm and Easter Sunday, and people are watching on laptops and computers? It's sad.
In North Carolina, a drive-in theater doubling as a place of worship. Others choosing to defy social distancing. In Louisiana, despite a spike in COVID-19 cases, Pastor Tony Spell keeping the doors open at Life Tabernacle Church, 1 week after troopers arrested him for violating stay-at-home orders.
We've lost our jobs. We lost our incomes. At least let us go worship. So this is the safest place in the world.
He's not alone. In Texas, where churches are deemed essential, Pastor Joel Garza says he preaches a God of healing and won't close doors. The potential consequences clear. After being linked to more than 70 COVID-19 cases, one Sacramento megachurch finally closed last week. Meanwhile, in Baton Rouge.
How many positive cases? How many deaths before you consider closing your church doors in the midst of this pandemic?
I know you're probing me, but we're never going to close our doors.
No matter what?
No matter what. You have my word.
A test of more than just faith as a virus rages on. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
And still ahead here tonight, the fake testing sites where scammers pose as medical workers. Also tonight, we want to spotlight the moments that unite us, like this scene from New York City as New Yorkers applaud out their windows to thank healthcare workers. A trumpeter plays the national anthem. A new warning tonight as scammers are trying to profit off the outbreak. Authorities now cracking down on everything from price gouging to fraudulent testing sites. NBC's Sam Brock has more.
Well, we're live back down at 17th and Broadway where the alleged COVID testing stations have set up once again.
In Louisville, Kentucky, people in full hazmat suits and protective gear operating what's presented as COVID-19 testing.
Are you taking swabs from these folks?
Excuse me?
Are you taking swabs from these folks?
You have to, man.
Okay.
But Louisville officials like Barbara Sexton Smith tell us it's a scam. She says they're testing without government approval and without even taking nasal samples. How furious are you about all of this?
They may go through 40 or 50 people in a test wearing the same gloves, and we've got the photos of them taking off all their stuff, throwing it in the back of a pickup truck, and driving off, and then the next day getting up, putting it all on, and then going to another location in our community.
As victims reveal their heartache.
This is just the worst thing ever. To even have to go through what I'm going through, and on top of it, to be taken advantage of.
Signs of a systemic crunch for legitimate gear emerge. In New Jersey, Holy Name Hospital just had to return 1,000 safety masks.
So between the fact that they did not have the certification that the N95 masks need and the fact that we were very concerned about the fit, we shipped them back.
Hospital equipment distributors telling NBC News the search for quality masks bordering on the impossible.
Out of the 300 that we've vetted so far, we haven't yet found one that's legitimate.
Federal officials telling people to prepare for a wave of scams as soon as this week, as those already victimized speak out.
I feel like I've been violated. These people are truly demonic.
Sam Brock, NBC News, Miami.
When we come back, staying safe, what you can do to keep things clean and virus-free in your own home. But first, this moment that unites us, now a nightly occurrence. New York City's bravest, the FDNY, stopping by hospitals to salute healthcare workers and to say thanks. With the number of coronavirus cases spiking across the country, experts emphasize that you not touch your face and that you wear face masks when you're outside. But are you doing enough inside your home? NBC News investigative and consumer correspondent Vicki Nguyen with what you should be doing.
The best way to avoid the virus is to stay home. That's not always possible. So when you come inside, make sure you take off your shoes and put on some indoor slippers. That way you don't bring the germs inside. A recent study found the virus can survive on different surfaces, up to 24 hours on cardboard and 2 to 3 days on hard plastic and stainless steel. So be sure to clean those frequently touched surfaces like countertops, handles, doorknobs, and light switches. It's ideal to use disinfectant sprays or wipes, but if you don't have them, some other common cleaners may work as well to kill viruses and bacteria. If you're not sure, check the EPA's list of cleaning products that are approved. Read the label to make sure you know how long to let the spray sit before wiping it off. It can take up to 5 minutes to fully kill any virus. The CDC says a diluted bleach solution also works to disinfect your home. Make sure you use 1/3 a cup of bleach per gallon of water. Don't forget to clean household items like children's toys, remote controls, computer keyboards, and any other items that multiple people touch. Remember, things only remain clean until they're touched again, so be sure to clean more often if you have a lot of people coming and going from your home. Experts say use the warmest water and drier heat setting that your clothing can handle, and don't forget to use enough detergent. And remember to wipe down the laundry basket or clean the hamper lining. When doing the dishes, no need for bleach, just use soap and hot water. Or use your dishwasher if you have one, because it runs hotter water than the faucet. And if you're getting deliveries or bringing home groceries, some experts say let them sit for 24 hours as an extra precaution. If you need them immediately, wipe down the items and always make sure to wash your hands thoroughly after handling.
Cleaning tips to help keep ourselves and our families safe. Vicki Nguyen, NBC News, New York.
Some good advice a lot of families can use. And when we come back, how country music superstar Dolly Parton is using her voice in a new way to help kids and parents through this crisis. And this moment that unites us, a neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, with a new nightly tradition, an outdoor, socially distanced dance party. There is good news tonight about a virtual story time by one of the country's most beloved superstars that is bringing people closer together. Joe Fryer has more on Dolly Parton's mission in these tough times.
Hello, I'm Dolly Parton, the book lady.
It's not your imagination. Music legend Dolly Parton is now reading bedtime stories to kids who are watching online.
Are you ready to read this special book? Well, here I go.
The singer created Good Night with Dolly, a 10-week series taking place every Thursday night. She explained why she's doing it on Today.
This seemed like a perfect time with the kids all stuck at home, and this being, a great time to kind of not only entertain the kids, but kind of to calm the parents down a little bit.
It's the latest chapter in Dolly's Imagination Library, a program that each month mails free books to kids from the time they're born to age 5.
I love books. I've loved books all my life.
Earlier this year, we spoke with Dolly about the Imagination Library, which started back in 1995, inspired by her father, who could not read or write.
And he felt very embarrassed and crippled by that, but he was so smart. And so he got to live long enough to see the Imagination Library do so well and got such a kick out of the kids calling me the book ladies.
To date, her library has mailed more than 133 million books to kids all across the world. The first one they receive is The Little Engine That Could.
Puff, puff, chug, chug went the little blue engine.
The very bedtime story Dolly read this past Thursday.
Why is that such an important book to you?
Well, because it's a book about being positive. It's about a book that says, I can, I think I can, I think I can.
A message for the times. It certainly resonates with kids who are tuning in.
My favorite part of the book is the end part that I said, I could.
You, of course, have a legacy in music, but this is part of your legacy too, isn't it?
I have to honestly say that I probably am as proud of this as anything I will ever do.
Even during this time when seemingly everything is closed, Dolly's Imagination Library remains open for business.
I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. Isn't that fun?
Joe Fryer, NBC News, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
My little girls love it. That's Nightly News for this Sunday. Lester Holt will be with you tomorrow. I'm Peter Alexander. For all of us here at NBC News, stay safe and healthy and have a good night.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.